Hello everyone, welcome to the Lisa Loves Stitchin Floss Tube channel. My name's Lisa and I'm coming to you today from not so sunny Brisbane. It's a bit overcast today and I'm sorry this is going to be back to front if there's any writing because I can't find my tripod attachment and I've got you precariously sat on top of my serger and it's easier just to do it where I can see the screen and know that you're in frame. I'm in frame. Yeah, so it's been ages, like months since I last checked in with you guys. Welcome if you're a new subscriber, and if you're brand new to the channel, welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back again. And today's episode is going to be a bit of a catch up of what's happened over the last couple of months and sort of a whip parade of what I've been touching on in the last couple of months while I've been away from YouTube. And then we're going away this weekend, so I will not be loading this until probably Sunday night or Monday because I'll add in some footage from where we go for our weekend away, which is to North Stradbroke Island, which is just near Brisbane, and it's a stunning place to visit. If you've never been and you're in Australia and you come up to Queensland, definitely worth a weekend away there if you can afford to do that. There is a car barge, but it is a bit pricey, so it's best to make a weekend of it. Otherwise, if you're just going for a day trip, there is a little bus service that goes around the island, but it's obviously only doesn't run maybe once an hour or something like that, so you can get the walk-on ferry, which is quicker to get across. But anyway, if you do come across, it's awesome. Like, you'll see all the wildlife, whale watching, kangaroos, koalas, stingray, osprey, you name it, you'll see something when you're on the island. And they have awesome gelato around near the lookout, so definitely worth a visit. So we're going to be staying, anyway, I'll go back into that later. First, let's get into the cross stitch, and then I will I'll do a bit of lively chat after that. So firstly, I think I touched on briefly, just to finish off some flowers here, but I'm missing one flower. I've got to do one more flower in this urn and then finish the urn off. This is Sarah Newman, 1822, and the pattern, I think, is by Fox and Rabbit Designs, and I don't think I've got the cover. I don't have the cover page for it to show you what it looks like, but it's really pretty. And I'm doing this on 32 count lemon butter, 2 over, I think it's, is it 2 over? Or maybe it's 36 count. I'm trying to see. I think it's, let me just put my reading glasses on. It's 1 over 2 threads, so it must be 36 count. Lemon Butter by Jay's X Stitch on Etsy, and it's a gorgeous fabric. It's going to be a huge sampler. I really love stitching on this. I just love the lemony fabric and the pastel colour palette for this sampler. So I've previously shown you this, and I was working last time, let me just stop this, on this urn of flowers. It's looking gorgeous. I just have this flower here to replicate over here and then finish the bottom of the urn, and I'm done on that big motif. It's quite huge, like it takes up nearly my hand. So that is going to be so pretty when it's finished, and then I'll work on the next motif, but it's good to get like a big one done. So that's looking cute. So that's Sarah Newman. This one's such an easy one to stitch on. I rarely have to frog anything on that one, touch wood. But the frog has visited me recently, so as of last night. What's that one? I don't think I worked on Botany Bay. Right, so the next one I did some work on is my Dimensions Charts and Charms, and it's number 72378, So Cozy, as in SEW, So Cozy. And my mum found this in an op shop a few years ago, back in 2017. And I'm doing this on 32 count, wait on, yes, 32 count Zweigart linen that I just bought in the pink colourway that they have, like it's the, not hand dyed or anything, from, I think I got it from Itchy Stitchy online, who, by the way, has her own floss colours now, if you're interested. Anyway, I've worked on this here and then started on the leaves for the pot plant that's hanging. And I've done the little houses and the bracket. And now I'm working on this Home Sweet Home sign. And this is what, and this is 2 over 2. And this is what I've done. I'm not doing all the back stitch. I'm doing back stitch as I go, but I'm not doing as much back stitches on the original design. Like I've done a little bit here and a little bit there. I will have to do it on here just to define the flowers and the leaves. But otherwise I'm minimizing how much back stitch I do. So I've done the flowers and a little love heart. Can't see that there. And yeah, the frame. I'm also not doing as many of the blends, you know, because it tries to make it look variegated. I'm just, where it's necessary, I'm doing it, but otherwise I'm not bothering. So anyway, so this fabric is so pretty. So that's what I've done so far. It's actually a really nice sampler to stitch on. I really like the retro 90s, 80s, 90s colours, all the pastels. So I'm looking forward to getting down to this part here. I don't know if that's, I might have to, because the fabric I chose is pink, I might have to actually add in some white here to fill in the back of the shelves. Otherwise it might look weird. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing this. And I think I won't have a problem with the quilt being pink because it's got that border on it. So anyway, so I'm really enjoying stitching on this one. Yeah, it's really good. So that's that one in my crazy cat lady bag that I made. Okay, next. Okay, so when I went to a Stitch in Time Hobart, I purchased some 46 count baked clay by linen by Fox and Rabbit Designs because I wanted to try stitching on a higher count, and I absolutely love it. I'm in love. Just want to stitch on all the 46 count, which you'll see is happening right now. So I bought the PDF pattern from Hands Across the Sea Samplers for Emily Ann Foster 1892, and it's this sweet little red sampler, but I decided to do it in a blue colour, a Vera Soir 103 thread that I got when I was at a Stitch in Time Hobart, and it's like a tealy blue. It's number 13. Isn't it gorgeous, this colour? So pretty and vibrant. So I'm really loving this. I'm using my little tiny Notions bag from Rainbows and Stitches and Rebecca, and it's a Harry Potter theme. I love it. And it's such a good size if you're doing on an extra high count or just a little small. This fits in perfectly. I've just got my little frame. So yeah, she's got these in her shop, and bigger bags as well. So, and they're beautifully made, really, really neatly made. So exceptional quality. So go and check it out. There's even a cute 9 3/4 platform charm, zipper charm. So yeah, go and check her Etsy out. But this is, I'll just undo this so you can see it better. I'm almost finished. I'm going to take it away with me this weekend and work a bit on it, but I'm almost finished. But what I did it in the blue, number 13 of Aerosoir silk thread, 103, and I'm also, because this, if you haven't seen it in the flesh, this baked clay is like a fawn colour, like a coffee fawn colour, but it's got a bit of a grey background to it, almost like a hint of grey. But in there is just these little, barely there hints of this tealy blue, and that's why I chose the blue to go with it, because I thought it would bring out the colour nicely. So I'm just working on the bottom border, but otherwise I'm all done. And I, instead of putting Emily Ann Foster, I recharted it using my chart software, WinStitch, to put my great-grandmother's name, maternal great-grandmother's name, and I worked out that she was aged, because on Emily Ann Foster it's got aged 11, 1892. So actually, ironically, my great-grandmother was born in 1892. I think it was 1892. And I worked out that she was aged 11, my grandmother, in 1903. So that's what I've put, Ivy Isabel Wattis. That's her maiden name. Aged 11, 1903. And then I've just got to do the border. So I've done the alphabets and the little patterns, bands across underneath each line. And this is 46 count linen, so each letter is like no bigger, smaller than my little fingernail. And it's just such a sweet little sampler. So sorry the writing's backwards this time. Next time I show it, I'll have it around the other way. And it just says God is love. And then it's got Ivy Isabel Wattis, aged 11, 1903. And so I've just got this border to bring across here, and I'm done. So I'll be looking forward to getting that framed. So I'll just pop that back in the bag, ready to go this afternoon. So I can try and get, I just need to concentrate because the borders, and especially on 46 count. I'll definitely have to take my light here, that I normally take to retreats. I did see Nicola had one that's really cool that fits into like a little zip up pouch, but it's $175, so I don't have the funds for that at the moment. But this one's okay. It's very light. It's got a little cord that plugs in and out. And it's got a magnifier as well in there as the LED lights. And it's got a few different light settings. So I'll be taking that with me so that I can stitch. So I'll put that in there, over there. You've got no idea. I've been sewing and stuff, and my sewing room / office looks like fabric exploded everywhere. It's an absolute, like a bomb hit it. What a mess. So my next pattern is a new pattern that I designed. I have a number of convict relatives, and on my paternal side, my 3 times great-grandmother was Janet Louisa Angus, and she came to Australia. She was a habitual criminal from the age of 7. And she went in and out of prison in Scotland and then down in England prior to coming to Australia, down in London. And she'd been done for stealing, prostitution, because she was sort of, her father left when she was a young child, left the family, and her mother sort of pushed her out to do naughty things just as a way of survival, which is really, really sad. So she's described by one of the uh, legal people in her court hearing thing as being someone who doesn't understand the difference between mine and thine. So she was in and out of prison, bless her. And the last prison she was in was Millbank Prison prior to travelling to Australia from London, where she was sent for life, 14 years, and not to return. And she eventually got pardoned. But anyway, poor Janet, she came out, and prior to coming out, there was a Quaker movement, and set up by a Quaker woman, and I've forgotten her name right now, but I'll put the details below. And they used to go around to the prisons and teach the women how to sew and do samplers and sew quilts, embroider, all that sort of thing. And prior to Janet and the other women on her ship leaving, they were each given a gift by the ladies of sewing implements, needle. You can just see the dogs running around like hoons. Sewing implements like needle, thread, scissors, 2 pounds of scrap fabric, like for making a quilt on the journey over to Australia, and a portion, I believe, of food to supplement their rations on board. And a later ship that came out, there's a quilt called the Rajah Quilt, and it's the only surviving quilt of its kind, but it is made from this package of donated fabric that the Quaker women gave the convict women for their trip out. So it was the Rajah quilt was made by women on a ship that came out later than my grandmother, and they made it for the lady who started the Quaker movement, and they had it sent back to England with a letter thanking her for the help that she organised, or like her group provided. And on the convict ship that my grandmother came out on, they were treated very well, allowed to go up on the deck up top and talk to the crew and to the passengers, and they were well cared for on the trip out. And when they got to Australia, a smaller group of those women, not my grandmother, but some of the women on her ship, organised to have a thank you letter sent back to the lady who originally taught them to sew, and ask her if she would kindly post a notice in the newspaper, the national newspapers, to sort of hope that maybe family might find out through word of mouth that they had arrived safely in Australia, because they had no way of communicating. My grandmother herself was illiterate, and they had no way of communicating, and they would never see their families again. So some of the women wanted to be able to communicate that, so that perhaps relatives might hear that they'd arrived safely and that they were okay. So that was really nice. So anyway, so that spurred me on, because I know she worked on a quilt or some sort of embroidery or something like that. And I wanted to do a sampler in honour of her. So I designed a sampler that sort of tells the story of her life. I'll try and include it up here or here. And I'll put a link to it down below. But firstly, I did like an alphabet. I added a thistle for her Scottish ancestry, heritage, and then I did the alphabet and some numbers, and then I put some little quilt blocks, like 9-patch little quilt blocks in 2 rows. I'm putting across underneath the alphabet, and then on the corner there's like a little replica from the Rajah quilt, because that's all I had to go off, of sort of similar colours and style, of a quilt block with scissors and, you know, that sort of thing. And then below that is Millbank Prison, which I did a little replica building of Millbank Prison, which was just opposite Albert Embankment in London, and it was just a few streets back from the Thames, and that's where she was incarcerated before she came out to Australia on the Midas. And then I put the Midas tall ship, and 14 years, because that's how many years she got sent out for. And she arrived in Australia in 1802, and I think it was 1802, and then she worked at Parramatta Women's Jail or whatever for a bit, I think, and then she got assigned to William Bell. Was it William Bell? Got one of the explorers, and that's where she met my 3 times grandfather, James Schofield. So I've put a little lovebird thing for them because they met, and she had her first child before they got married. She had her first child on the banks of the Hunter River, right up north past, like in the upper Hunter Valley, and they ended up having a farm themselves, but they originally had an inn called the Highland Laddie, and then they went on to wheat farm, and they had a bazillion children, and she was still getting into trouble for stealing little bits and bobs like a couple of years prior to her death, but I think it was just simply a habit. It wasn't that she meant harm or anything. It was just that's all she knew. But she was very well loved by her family, and there's a beautiful epitaph which I put in the middle of the sampler, and surrounded it by trees, and then down the bottom is the slab hut that they would have lived in. They originally started out in a tent, and then they moved into a slab hut once they built that, and that's where they had their farm, and they used to export their wheat back to England. And I do believe James won prizes at the local show for his wheat. And he used to play cricket with the local team. Yeah, so I put that in there, and then I added the initials of all of their children, and the child that I'm related to, William Schofield, I put his in a different colour, and I use sort of purples and that to represent this is going into so much detail, you're probably bored by now. I'm sorry for shaking the camera. And I went and put colours that sort of represent the thistle colour. So you'll see that theme in there. Yeah, so why don't I just show you what I've done so far? Because you're probably falling asleep by now because I've just droned on and on and on. So it's all in DMC on 46 count. Better pick that up before the dog gets it. Oh God. It was my embroidery scissors. 46 count baked clay by Fox and Rabbit Designs. It's a big piece I got. I don't know that I'll use all of it, but I've got a big piece. And I've done part of the border, a little bit of alphabet, the thistle, part of the 9 patch blocks, and part of Millbank Prison. So that's what I've done so far. So I did a chain border, sort of represents chain links because she was a convict. I'll just try and put that closer. And yeah, these are the Millbank Prison, the quilt blocks, and the thistle. Sorry if you're having trouble here. I'm trying to get it close so you can see it. And it's 1 thread over 2. So that's going to be super cute, and I look forward to having that on my wall to remember my convict great-great-grandmother. And this is also in a bag by Rebecca of Rainbow Stitches. and yeah, I love it. So that's that one. And then I have a new start, which is also a sale that I'm myself and, wait, I'll just get you the details. Sorry, I just knocked the camera while I was getting that info. So Ella Rose Vines of Spectrum Stitcher Floss Tube, and Nikki of Nick's Days Floss Tube, and myself are having a sale. So if you want to join us, feel free to jump in. We're going to be stitching from the 1st of September till whenever we finish it. Might be years later, who knows. There's no rush on finishing it, you know. But we're doing a sale which is Tribute to Summer by Stacey Nash Primitives, and it's just to celebrate the warmer months coming in, and yeah, just something we wanted to do together. So I'll put a picture of Tribute to Summer up there if I can, and I'll put a link to it below, but you can get it as a PDF download from Stacey Nash Primitives shop on Etsy, or you could buy it from your local L&S as a printed out pattern. And it's a really sweet little sampler, not very big, and yeah, just something we all agreed we liked and we wanted to stitch on. So without further ado, I've got mine in I've run out of project bags, so I've got mine in just a like a canvas bag type thing, cotton shopping bag. I'm using DMC, and I'm using, wait for it, 46 count baked clay. Could you tell I'm a little bit obsessed by that? Oh, when I get out some of the colours, so that's like the green for the border, and sort of some creams. That's, you know, Stacey Nash, hers are always primitive, so they're like sort of faded out or subtle colours. So I've got browns and creams and a sort of goldy colour and a green, little corally orange colour, and pink, more greens, because you can never have enough greens. So that's the sort of colour palette that it's going to be. And I've made a very small start, and the frog has already visited me. So I started here on the top left border, but for you it'll look like it's on the right hand side, and I've done the leaves, and I started this flower and then I kept counting wrong. So I missed out a line just here, so I have to rip all that petal out and start again. It just kept sending me cross-eyed, because what I did was I had the PDF but it's sideways, and so I kept turning it the wrong way when I had my phone, so it was sending me a bit cross-eyed. So that's all I've done so far. Very tiny start, but I'll take this with me on the weekend to do a bit of work on it. I'll have to make myself a project bag so I can put it in a proper bag. But for now, that's all. And I bought the fabric, the linen, all from A Stitch in Time in Hobart. So that's all of my cross-stitch news. Next I have some knitting. So I'll show you some knitting. So I've got this cute, who's this by? Give Me a Crown. It's an Australian Etsy shop. Is this little DPN cover, and DPN is double pointed needles. And I've got a pair of socks that I've started. Now, I cannot remember the name of the dyer for this. I think it was an Australian dyer, and I can't remember the name, but I bought it a few years ago. Really pretty colours. So Wayne, the one thing he loves wearing that I knit is socks. He won't wear hats, he won't wear scarves, but he will wear socks. So that's the one thing I do knit for him. So if I get these somehow miraculously knit by Christmas, he'll get a pair of socks for Christmas. If not, he'll get them whenever he gets them. But they're just on, what are these? Knit Pro wooden DPNs with the colours. Can't remember what they're called. And they are 3mm. And this is what I've done so far. So I've done the, I cast on 72 stitches, and I just did a 2x2 to rib. And then I've just started this week, yesterday at lunch, while I was on my lunch break, I started on the stockingette. So I'm just going to, I want to do a decent size cuff, and then I'm just going to work down till I get to the heel flap and gusset. I'll do that. I don't know if I want to do it in a contrast colour, but otherwise I'll just do the heel flap and gusset, and then, you know, the rest of the sock. I am going to do the toe out of the crunkled sock pattern by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears, because I really like the umbrella toe. I was tempted to try her toe as a heel, because some people have done it as a heel, an umbrella heel, and it's just like doing a toe, but I don't want to mess it up. So I'm just going to stitches I normally do, heel flap and gusset. The reason, okay, so if you're not a seasoned knitter, when you're sock knitting, a heel flap and gusset is really ideal if you have a high instep like I do, because it you know, it's got more fabric. You do like a flap, and then you sort of do short rows to get it to turn the corner of your heel, and then work your way back out to the toe. So that's perfect for people with a high instep. If you know you're knitting for someone who has a flat foot or a low instep, you can get away with an afterthought heel, or just a different style of heel that's not as much fabric, like the umbrella toe. So, but Wayne does have a low instep, he's got flat feet, but just for ease, because I know how to do the heel flap and gusset, I'm just going to do that, so it won't hurt. It's fine. Yeah, so I'm really loving it. The fabric's so nice. The key when you're knitting with DPNs, if you're new to knitting, I would suggest, if it's your first time with DPNs, try wooden ones, bamboo or these style of wooden ones, because it grips better. When you've got metal ones, the stitches slide all over the place, so it's easier to drop stitches or, you know, not get the tension right. So when you're, this is probably more information than you ever need to know, but when you're going to turn the corner between needles, you have the working thread on the top of the back needle, and then you're coming in at the front like you would normally knit, and you've got this gap here. What you need to do is you're pulling that really tight to make sure that there's no ladder. So once you've done the first few stitches along that needle, it'll be nice and tight and you won't have that ladder. So if you can see there, there's no laddering. It's just a nice fabric. But if you're a newbie, you might get some laddering, which just, you know, it comes with practice. So yeah, so that's my socks so far. So I'll take those with me. I've been working on them in my lunch break at work when I go in 2 days a week, or on the train on the way home. Wayne usually drops me at work, but then I get the train home. So that's that in my Mrs. Brown's bag, knitting bag. Love it. Use it like a handbag as well as a knitting bag. So the next other thing that I've been working on is sewing together. I need to fix this. I've got to unpick that. Sewing together fabric, and you go, what are you doing? This is patchwork, but it's mock quilted. It's just to give it the look of quilting. And then I'm making these up, which I cut 2.5 inches wide strips, and they're about about 11.5 inches long. And then I put this tab at the bottom, and what will happen is, this is going to be way too big for it, but you get the gist. This is not what will happen. It won't be a scissor fob, but I will be making a parrot clip thing like this with a cabochon and some charms just to dangle off about that far off the bottom, and it's a bookmark for your journal. It's a bookmark for your journal, so it's nice and flat, fits in, or for your Bible. What have I got? I haven't got a book, but anyway, this is a smaller book, but this is made for a big journal that's a bit bigger, or a Bible. And the ones I'm getting will have religious things with it because I'm going to be possibly having a stall at my local church. So I got some cabochons on order that have like little religious sayings. And I got little cross enamels, charms, and some flowers, little daisies. So people can pick their bookmark and then choose the cabochon that they want combo, and then they can clip that on, and then it just looks cute, doesn't it? And keeps your page. So that's what I'm making. I've made 4 so far, and I've got, what I'm doing to make it is I'm sewing together the rows, ironing it flat, then backing it with interfacing, fusible interfacing, then doing that one's a bit messy, I've got to pick it up, unpick it, but doing a 1/4 inch seam along there, and then cutting it into the strips once I've done that. Also cutting like backing strip fabric, and once I've done that, I can sew them together and pull them inside out, and that's it. And then I just add, before I stitch down the bottom end, this is where the opening is when I turn it inside out, and I've got a stitch along there, so I just add a bit of grosgrain ribbon and one of these bag clips, and then you can just clip on whatever dingle dangle charmy thingy you want on the end. And some of them I might do smaller and then just put a little tab of ribbon at the bottom, so there'll be no charms, so there'll be 2 styles. But this is just fabric out of my stash. I love this one, so cute. Don't have much of that, so I got 4 out of that one. And then what did I do with my, oh, I don't have it here. Anyway, I cut out heaps of fabric so far, so anyway, stay tuned because I might also put those in my shop. Yeah, so that's basically everything I have been working on over the past 2 months. Now we go to Lifey Chat. So the reason I haven't been on is because I lost my floss tube mojo after I returned from having a wonderful time at retreat in Hobart to get COVID. So I got COVID. I was out for the count for a week, just not stitching much, just lying in bed, sleeping all day pretty much. We managed to have like an after retreat on the chat in Instagram with all the attendees that got COVID. We like to share our stitches, don't we? So a bunch of us got sick, pretty much most of us that attended the retreat, we all got sick. So we were all in bed and chatting online via Instagram and commiserating with each other and sharing new starts and what we're working on. Oh, I forgot to show you. Oh, I didn't make much progress, so I won't show you that one. The retreat design I've showed you before, and I really haven't stitched much on it, maybe 6 stitches, I don't know. So yeah, so did that, got over it after got well enough to go back to work a week after, and then I just was a bit tired for a few weeks afterwards, and I've been stitching, as you can see, but I just didn't have the energy to do a face-to-face chat on FlossTube. So yeah, sorry about that. But you know, when you've just been unwell, it sort of just knocks you around, and it was a bit stressful, and yeah, so anyway, so I'm back now. hopefully I won't be as, I always say it, but I always end up being slack. But let's hope the next video is not too far off. But yeah, so that's basically why I haven't been back for so long, was just because I lost my mojo from getting COVID. Yeah, and I've been unwell, so I think my immune system just took a hit. So I've had like a sinus infection I'm still getting over. Had a migraine. So yeah, I've just not been feeling 100%. So just took a break. So anyway, so I'm back now, and then this weekend, this afternoon, after I finish work, I'm just on a brief break now for this video, but we're going to head to Cleveland to get the barge this afternoon, and head over to Straddie, and Wayne's parents are already over there at a different place to where we're staying, just around the corner, and so they're going to meet us tonight for fish and chips for dinner. And I've already done our grocery shop for the weekend. They do have an IGA or something over there, but it's not, you know, you can't guarantee, especially I'm gluten-free, to get everything you want. So did a shop last night, got some dog bones and stuff like that, and then we're pretty much packed, ready to go. Just got to throw stuff in the esky and pack the car and grab the hoons and head off to Straddie. So I'll get some footage over the weekend. Hopefully we can get some, there's supposed to be whales going past at the moment, so I should get some whale spotting done. And that reminds me, I need to charge my camera. And there's markets on Sunday, so that should be good. And definitely got to stop and get a gelato. So look forward to putting the footage at the end of our little soiree over to North Stradbroke Island, and I'll catch you next time. Till then, happy stitching. Bye.